Imagine you're driving 45 miles down a perfectly straight road, and it takes you exactly 1 hour. The catch? The speed limit is a strict 40 miles per hour the entire way. You're cruising along, you never see a single police officer, no radar gun ever points your way, so you think you've gotten away with it, right?
Well, here is a wild question for you. Can a cop mathematically prove you were speeding without ever actually clocking your speed at any specific moment? Seriously, even if they didn't catch you in the act, we're going to see how calculus absolutely proves that you broke the law. It's not just some magic math trick, it's a literal, fundamental truth about how objects move through space and time.
By the end of this explainer, you're going to totally get the intuition behind this rule, the exact formula for what we call the mean value theorem, and exactly how to apply it to ace your real-life examples and your next exam. No more mindlessly memorizing formulas without understanding the why behind them.
So here's our game plan to figure this mystery out. We're looking at the calculus speeding ticket, Rolle's theorem, the mean value theorem, some math in real life, and finally, 3 important corollaries.
All right, part 1, the calculus speeding ticket. Let's keep that 45-mile road trip in the back of our minds as we start building the math we need to actually solve it.
Moving right into part 2, Rolle's theorem explained. To really grasp the big picture here, we actually need to look at a perfectly flat version of this rule first.
Okay, so Rolle's theorem gives us this incredibly powerful intuition. It says that if a differentiable function's outputs are equal at the endpoints of an interval, there has to be an interior point where the derivative is 0. Now, to put that in plain English, think about throwing a tennis ball straight up into the air and catching it at the exact same height you threw it from. Your start and end heights are equal, right? Well, at some point in between, literally at the very top of its arc, that ball had to stop going up and start going down. At that exact freeze frame moment, your slope, your velocity, must be perfectly flat. It's just 0.
But you can't just apply this rule to any random squiggly line. For this to work, your function has to pass a super strict 3-step checklist. It has to act as a perfectly smooth, unbroken path. First, it must be continuous over the closed interval from A to B. Basically, no teleporting allowed. Second, it has to be differentiable over the open interval A to B, meaning it has to be completely smooth. And third, your starting output, f of A, absolutely must equal your ending output, f of B. If it passes those 3 tests, boom, the theorem guarantees a flat tangent line exists.
Now wait, this is super important, so pay attention here. A really common mistake students make is totally forgetting that second requirement, differentiability. If your graph has a sharp corner on it, like the absolute value of x minus 1 that we're looking at here, the theorem completely falls apart. See, even though it starts and ends at a height of 0, that sharp V-shaped point at the bottom has an undefined derivative. There is literally no point where the derivative equals 0. So always check your 3 steps before applying the theorem. All right, part 3, the mean value theorem. Now that we've nailed the basic idea of Rolle's theorem, that a flat path yields a flat derivative, let's mentally tilt the whole graph. What happens when the start and end points aren't at the same height?
This brings us to the absolute heart of today's lesson, the mean value theorem. Check out the right side of this equation. We've got f of b minus f of a all divided by b minus a. That is just your classic algebra formula for your average slope, or, your average speed over a trip. But on the left side, we have f prime of c. That is your calculus derivative, representing your exact instantaneous speed at a specific moment, which we'll call c. The theorem brilliantly states that somewhere between your start and end point, your exact instantaneous speed is going to perfectly equal your average speed.
Visually, this is just beautiful. If you draw a straight line, a secant line, connecting your starting point to your ending point, there is at least one specific moment on that curve where your current trajectory, your tangent line, is perfectly parallel to that overall path. So, simply put, if your average slope is 2, there is absolutely guaranteed to be an instant where your exact slope is also exactly 2.
Okay, moving on to part 4, math in real life. I know these formulas can sometimes feel a bit abstract, so let's make this way more concrete with a classic textbook example, dropping a rock from a 100-foot cliff.
First up, let's figure out the average speed. The rock drops from a height of 100 feet all the way down to 0 feet. Using our basic position formula, we know it takes exactly 2.5 seconds to hit the ground. So by dividing the total distance fallen, which is negative 100 feet, by the 2.5 seconds it takes to crash, we find out the rock's average velocity is exactly negative 40 feet per second.
So now you might be wondering, does the rock ever actually travel at exactly negative 40 feet per second? I mean, it starts at 0 speed when you let it go, right? And then it accelerates as it falls.
Does it ever hit that exact average speed? And if so, when does that happen? Well, the mean value theorem guarantees us that it absolutely does.
Let's crunch the numbers and see how this actually works. Step 1, we take the derivative of our position function to find the instantaneous velocity formula, which gives us s prime of t equals negative 32t. Step 2, we set this exact velocity formula equal to our average velocity of negative 40. And step 3, we just solve for our specific time c. Negative 32c equals negative 40, which leaves us with c equals 5 over 4, or 1.25 seconds. The math proves definitively that at exactly 1.25 seconds into the fall, that rock was falling at exactly negative 40 feet per second. Pretty cool, right?
Now, let's connect this right back to our hook from the beginning, that calculus speeding ticket. If you covered 45 miles down a straight road in exactly 1 hour, your average speed was 45 miles per hour. Because driving a car is a continuous differentiable motion, like you can't just teleport or instantly jump from 30 to 60 without hitting the numbers in between, the mean value theorem guarantees there was at least one instant during that hour where your speedometer hit exactly 45. And since you were in a 40-mile-per-hour zone, yeah, the math proves you were speeding. Busted by calculus.
Finally, Part 5, 3 important corollaries. Before we wrap up, let's quickly summarize 3 key rules that naturally spin out from everything we just learned today.
You're going to want to take mental notes here, because these 3 corollaries are massive shortcuts for understanding the shape of a graph just by looking at its derivative. First, if a derivative is 0 everywhere on an interval, the original function is perfectly constant, just a flat horizontal line. Second, the constant difference theorem. If 2 functions have the exact same derivative everywhere, they are identical in shape, just shifted vertically from one another by a constant number. And third, if a derivative is positive, the function is sloping upwards, it's increasing. If it's negative, it's decreasing.
Which actually brings us to a final pretty provocative thought. Since we now know that positive and negative derivatives basically act like a steering wheel, controlling whether a graph climbs or falls, how can we exploit these shifting signs to pinpoint a function's exact, absolute peak or its deepest valley? Well, finding those maximum and minimum values is exactly the concept